Who was your baseball hero growing up?
My baseball hero growing up, being from Brooklyn. Okay, younger, the Dodgers, because I only lived like about 4 blocks from Ebbets Field. But, most of my family were Yankee fans. Naturally, Mantle, Maris. I was born in 47. So you come down to the middle 50s, you're following, everybody. But I had 9 uncles and cousins all signed professionally, and they all played in the minor leagues. The day I signed with the Baltimore Orioles, my 2 cousins signed with the Mets. So it's a baseball-oriented family.
Right.
But idols, yeah, Mantle, Maris. I love Yastrzemski. And you follow Mays, Clementi, all those guys.
Right.
Being Italian, you get DiMaggio,
Right.
you
Right.
get Berra,
Yeah.
and then my uncles, they go back to Lazzari and all the old Italian guys like that. But no, just love the game of baseball.
What was Ebbets Field like?
Ebbets Field was cozy, small, you know, right, the streets were right there, Bedford Avenue and everything. We used to walk there. Used to get in for a quarter at that time. I remember going, I must have been 6 years old, 7 years old, and, staying usual. I think he hit like 3 home runs that day.
Wow.
They played against the Dodgers,
Right.
I remember things like that. I remember going to Yankee Stadium. They bought me in 1967 from the Orioles, and they have to play you 1 league higher, which was the major leagues. So at 19, I came up and I'm with the New York Yankees. I took the subway to get to Yankee Stadium. Used to walk from the house to Nostrand Avenue and took the train right up to 161st Street. Yeah. And the Ford Motor Company had sponsored the Yankees that year.
Okay.
And they gave everybody brand new Thunderbirds to use for the year. I didn't have a driver's license. Right. I had to get Steve Hamilton to drive the car from Jersey to Yankee Stadium, and had one of my friends come to Yankee Stadium to drive the car home. My first year in the major leagues, I made $4,000.
Oh.
So every 2 weeks, you got a paycheck for $250. My father worked for Department of Highways and Sewers for New York. He was making more than I did. And when he used to kid me, he used to say, I make more money than you, and I dig ditches for the city, and you're playing for the New York Yankees. And I would say, yes, Dad, but when you go to work with Bill, Bob, and Joe. When I go to work with Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, and Elston Howard, because you got a point. Yeah.
That's great. Now you're stepping into Yankee Stadium as a Yankee. What's that moment like for you?
It's, if you're an artist, like, you would have an opportunity to sit down with Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt, all the great painters. I'm going to Yankee Stadium, and it's with Mickey Mantle, and then a team would come in, Boston would come in, you got Carl Yastrzemski. Spring training, you're playing the Pirates, you got Clementi. It's you don't appreciate it because you're awestruck. Yeah, I had ability to play baseball and hit a baseball, but I didn't have any training on how to approach the game. The game's fast, and the great ball players slow it down. They really do. And it's hard to explain it to someone that not hasn't played at that level, but just to go out and play. We all grow up and We get 9 guys, we go on a field and we play another 9 guys.
What was the old Yankee Stadium like?
The old Yankee Stadium was uh, a museum, a monument, something that's, is every kid's dream, really, is to play in Yankee Stadium. You go there, everything's green, you smell the grass. The seats are close, right field, the seats come straight down onto the field. Left field, same thing. You have to get a pair of binoculars to see dead center field. The monuments are on the field, and it's just, you look up in awe. But then again, at 19, you look up and you're in awe, but then you go back and you look at first base and you just visualize Lou Gehrig. You look at right field, you see Babe Ruth. It's all that really you take in, and you just try and understand the game. At the end of the '66 season, during the season, the Orioles Vietnam was at height.
Yeah.
So what it was is that everybody was being drafted, and the Orioles had said, it would be wise if you would try, we'll help you get in a reserve unit. Mm-hmm. The thing that's open is the United States Marine Corps. Right. Okay. And I joined the Marine Reserves in Miami, Florida. So you go through a little bit of training and things like that, and then come in September, I went to boot camp at Paris Island. And then from boot camp, I went to Camp Pendleton for infantry training and for radio operator. Okay. And while I'm there, I get a letter in the mail from my mother, and it was right around my birthday in November. And it goes, Yankees draft Frank Tepedino, Charlie Sands, off a Rule 5 draft. And what that means is that you have to play one league higher. And being on a AAA roster, that meant I had to play with the Yankees. I mean, I was dumbfounded. It was life-changing as far as my baseball career. Yeah. I needed more seasoning, and it was just the way the rules are set up. Yeah. Yeah. This is the way it worked out. But everybody was happy being from Brooklyn, and everything like that. And then the Daily News had taken a picture of they went to the house, they took a picture of my parents. Right. I pinch run for Mantle. It's like, you got to be kidding me. You're going and you're pinch running for a legend and your idol. But ironically, my first at-bat in the major leagues, I pinch hit for Whitey Ford, Hall of Fame. Pitcher on the mound is Jim Palmer, Hall of Fame. I hit the ball to Louis Aparicio, Hall of Fame. I hit a one-hopper to him. He throws me out of first base. I come back to the dugout, and Whitey Ford's standing there. And Whitey Ford goes, hey, kid, I could have done that. I mean, it was just, that was Whitey. Everything was, to ease the tension of your first at-bat and everything. But not many guys can say their first at-bat in the major league involved 3 Hall of Fame players, like that. And ironically, it was against the Baltimore Orioles, who I had originally signed with, and the Yankees had drafted me from them.
What made you a major league hitter?
It was ability. It was being in the right place at the right time with the right managers. There were ball players that were better than myself, and I'm the first to admit it. There were a lot of 5'2" ball players that never made it. You're in the right position. The ball club is looking for hitters. I could hit. Okay, but I never, ever applied myself to the other parts of the game. I didn't have anybody pushing me. I'm a pretty well laid back person. I don't go beyond what you're supposed to do. You know, in any walk of life, people become successful because they apply themselves. I look back, I didn't. And that's the thing that really hurts as I look back on my career. Give me a bat, fine. Yeah. Give me a glove at first base, fine. In those days, you had to hit. You couldn't be a 240 hitter, 250 hitter, and expect to move up through the minor league system. You know, you had your power hitters, you had your hitters. In those days, the average, it meant something.
Yeah.
I love baseball.
Yeah.
I watch baseball 24/7 when I have the opportunity, you know. But things change, rules change, the way they approach the game changes, and you know, at times you have to just turn off the volume, and just enjoy the game.
Right.
Cut off the bottom so you don't have to look at the betting stats, you know, and just stupid stuff on there, and just look at the game, look at the color, and appreciate the game. With Atlanta, I had an opportunity to play. Okay, and I did perform, and I got lucky. I had a good season. I had a good manager, and Eddie Matthews. Okay, it was a ball club that was built on hitting, not pitching, and I fit right in. And what it was, he just used me to the best of my ability. Left-handed pinch hitter, play first base against righties, give Aaron a day off. I played first. Then I was with Atlanta for about a month and a half. And what it was is we were playing the Cubs in Chicago. And we were down 7-0, 7-1, and nobody on base. And Matthews had said, Tep, pinch hit. So as I'm walking up to pinch hit, he calls me back. Now, he's having a good year. He calls me back and he goes, from this moment on, I'm just going to use you as a pinch hitter to either tie the game or win the game. Sit, now you know your position. That was one of the biggest helpful things I ever got playing baseball. Now, come fast forward an inning or two, now we got 7-2, 7-3, bases loaded. Pitcher is the second hitter. I didn't even wait for him to tell me to pinch hit. I just put a helmet on, grabbed the bat, and went up in the on-deck circle. I hit a double off the center field wall, yes. And that made that whole year going forward. Ironically, in 1974, midway through, I was having another decent year. Eddie Matthews got fired. Now what happens is you get a new manager. He doesn't know. He treats you different than your previous manager. And needless I say, I think I wound up with 38 at-bats, 40 at-bats. The second half, I didn't play that much the following spring. When the manager has confidence in you, the players have confidence in you. And then you become part of the team. When you're used in certain situations at certain times, you know, it's like a pitcher. You know, you bring in a pitcher from the bullpen when you're losing 10-1. He's a mop-up pitcher. You know, you bring in a relief pitcher where there's no chance of a save. You know, he's got to rally around his hitters to score 4 or 5 runs. And in those days, wins meant an awful lot. Today, you can win 20 games and like nobody blinks. Everybody writes about Henry Aaron, his career, the home runs, everything, how great a ball player was. And I try to explain to a lot of writers, I says, there's one thing about the man that nobody knows, or when I tell the story, no one really gives him the credit that he deserves. when I was with Atlanta, I would play first base when Aaron got a day off against a righty. And this went on for like about 5 or 6 weeks. And Aaron came up to me and he says, Tep, he says, it's not fair to you. You never know when you're playing because of me. And I looked at him and he goes, when I'm playing, you're not playing, and you don't know when I'm playing or not. He goes, from this day on, when I walk through that clubhouse door, you'll be the first person I go to, and I will give you a thumbs up when I'm playing or a thumbs down when I'm not playing, so you know you have an opportunity to get in the game and you can prepare yourself better. And that no one ever writes about. What type of teammate he was and what type of person he was. And it's not fair. It really isn't. He was a teammate. He was, he was a leader, but didn't let you know he was the leader. Yeah, you always hear they lead by example. His presence was just enough to, oh my God, this is one of the greatest ball players of all time. And I have an opportunity to be on the same field as him. And it's not like you watch him prepare anything like that. The man was pushing 37, 38 years old. His preparedness that was done in 1954, 55. Yeah, it's not in the year 1973. So what it is that you look at him and you go, okay, I know he doesn't make mistakes. There's no mental mistakes. And mental mistakes are the biggest part of the game, not being in the game. And I look, you look at certain plays, you look at certain players and how they carry themselves and how other players look at them. And you try and learn from that. I mean, I played in the 60s and the 70s. I played first base, I played the outfield. There was never a time that we didn't talk to each other. Right. You look at your center fielder and you go 1 out, 2 outs. You talk to each other. Ball hit to you, hit the cutoff man. Yeah. Hit yourself on the back. Don't let anything go over your head. You move back a little bit. First base, I look at Evans playing third, Davy Johnson playing second base. Ball hit to me, I go to you. Who's the cutoff man? Ball hit the right field, I'm the cutoff man. Ball hit the left field, I'm the cutoff man. These are things that you talk. Now, nobody talks to each other. If I'm not playing, I'm sitting on the bench, I'm not really talking to players. I'm talking to pitchers. In other words, like with the Yankees, I would sit next to Stan Bonds and Mel Stottlemyre. We looked at the game. We didn't look at an iPad. We didn't look in the stands. We're looking at the pitcher. And I'm going, okay. And Bonson or Stottlemyre or another pitcher would say, curveball. And the situation calls for curveball. Type of hitter, who's on the mound, things like that. I understand everything is, advanced technology. You look at an iPad. You know what? You're going to learn more talking than you are looking, because it becomes a video game. And you can't learn from a video game.
In your estimation, what made Hank Aaron a great ball player?
You can't explain it. I threw batting practice every day. I would throw pitches in batting practice that to Aaron, he has no chance to swing. And the next thing I'm doing is looking over my right shoulder in the left field seats and going, oh my God, how in the world did he hit that pitch? Yeah, right. It was just his wrist. Like I said, the great players slow it down. I don't care if you're throwing 95, 98. To him, it was like batting practice. And it's not so much going up there with a plan. You just trust yourself, trust your ability, and everything else takes care of itself. Yeah.
You were there for two very historic moments, Mantle's 500th home run and Aaron when he broke Ruth's record. Talk about what that was like being in the ballpark.
When Mantle hit his 500th, I was only 19 years old, and it was just coming up with the Yankees at the beginning of my major league career. So not knowing, how to react, everything like that, and what a historic moment it was like, oh, wow, he hit a home run. Okay. And, you just go over as a 19-year-old young kid and just shake his hand or pat him on the back. Really, that was it. When Aaron hit his 714th and 715th was completely different. Then I had time in the major leagues. I was playing a little bit, and that was really historic, because he's tying Babe Ruth's record, and then he's going to break Babe Ruth's record. And the only person that wasn't nervous was Hank Aaron. He basically said, I am going to hit another home run. I don't know what day, I don't know what inning, what at bat, but I am going to hit another home run, and then I will hit another one after that. He took a lot of pressure off the players themselves.
Talk a lot about the pressure that he was under. The death threats and the hate mail. How did he handle that?
We didn't see the background to it. We didn't see the family part away from the ballpark, but we had the FBI with us. We had police with us. We had 30, 40, security people with us every place we went. Took a toll, but he didn't let you know what type of toll it was taking on him. He was more of a team player than an individualist. It was just waiting to get it done, making sure we didn't disrupt him. That was basically the whole thing, too. And ironically, it was at the beginning of a season. It wasn't towards a pennant race or anything like that. So we really didn't have the pressure of, playing out that part of the season. But it was enjoyable,
Did you replace him in that game?
I replaced him and went in and played first base. Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. Who was better, Aaron or Mantle?
Two completely different ball players. You talk to Mickey Mantle, he'll tell you. Mays was the greatest ball player he's ever seen. And he goes, Aaron didn't get the credit that he deserved. Switch hitter, dead right hitter. Right. One played in the American League, one played in the National League. One's playing in the spotlight of New York. One's playing in Milwaukee and Atlanta. Who was better? They were both fantastic. Who had more pressure? Aaron, in my opinion, because of his color. It was just completely stupid. But I signed in '65, and segregation was big. Yeah. The black ball players on the team couldn't stay with us in the hotels.
Wow.
They couldn't come to the same restaurants as us.
Wow.
There was a time that Baker and Gar couldn't go in a restaurant, so I went in, picked up their food, came out, sat on the bus, and ate on the bus with them. Why? Bathrooms, hotels, faucets in the South. This was insane, especially being from New York. I grew up in the projects in Greenpoint. Okay, everybody is the same. But in baseball, for some ungodly known reason, no. They went through a lot. It's hard enough just getting to the major leagues. Twice as hard when you have barriers in front of you. But it wasn't just baseball. It was every walk of life in the 60s, It was trying to become a policeman, trying to become a fireman. And then again, Mantle, too. Mantle being a hick, Mantle coming to New York. trying to live up to Babe Ruth.
Right.
No, you can't. You can't do things like that. You
Right.
can't live up to somebody, not even Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio. You know,
Right. Right.
these you're taking over his spot.
Right.
And like DiMaggio always said, when he gets introduced, he gets introduced as the greatest living ball player of all time. That's tough when Ted Williams is standing next to you, you know. But, everybody has favorites, a Yankee fan, Boston fan,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what makes baseball so great,
Yeah.
We all have our favorites.
What made him a great ball player? What was the, I know you caught him at the end.
Speed, power, switch hitting, and just everybody looked up to him. I mean, he was just a god, an idol, But to put all that, you know, all those parts of baseball, and then with all the ailments,
Yeah.
I mean, my God, he must have had 20 operations. Never said a word. I used to watch him in 1967 tape his legs from his ankle to his thigh and never, ever say anything. Never say, I don't feel good today, da da da. And there were times, Pete Sheehy was the clubhouse guy, and he was there for Babe Ruth, all of them, Garrick, Berra, DiMaggio, Mantle. And Mantle would get ready, and Pete would come up to me, because I was the youngest on the team. He would just go, he feels good today. Watch him play today. And this is, 1967. He only had one more year he played. And that was the day that you were like, oh my God. 1966, I played for the Miami Marlins, and what it was is they had Satchel Paige and Bob Feller would travel around the minor league system, and Max Patkin would be at first base, the clown prince of baseball. And they would put on 3 innings in minor league ballparks before your game. And one day in Miami, we had that opportunity where they were playing, and Satchel Paige is pitching on one team and Bob Feller's pitching on the other team. And that's like 2 of the greatest pitchers of all time. And here you are. And at that time, I was 18 years old.
Could he still pitch?
Yeah. Yeah, so could Bob Feller. Yeah.
Describe
what,
them pitching.
It wasn't like they were just soft tossing up there. No, that competitiveness in them never left. They weren't going to get on the mound. They were putting on a show, but it wasn't like they were going to go out there and give up 5 home runs and 10 base hits and go, hey, look at me. No, they wanted to get you out. It wasn't like you were going to go up there and they're just going to lay one over the plate so you can get a base hit. No, it was a battle. Yeah.
Other than your home parks, you must have played in Wrigley and maybe Fenway. And what are some of the stadiums that you really cherish?
You said them right. You said Wrigley and Fenway. Only you have them reversed.
Okay.
First of all, Yankee Stadium is a museum, but going into Fenway is unreal. It really is. It's gorgeous. And that was in the old days with the Green Monster before they put the seats up on them. That, I went up there later on. Me and my wife, we went up to Fenway and we sat on top of the Green Monster. Unbelievable. But then when I got traded to Atlanta, we went to Wrigley. And you go right back to Ernie Banks. He's coaching first base. And I'm going, because one of my idols was Billy Williams. Yeah. He's still playing. Wow. And Ron Santos upstairs, he's announcing the game, right. And Harry Carey. So it's all that, the green ivy and I did hit one ball into the ivy, so that was good. And then you get to Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium. Yeah. And you look over the Dodger dugout and you see Sandy Koufax and John Don Drysdale's announcing a game. And you look in the dugout, you see Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. You look in your dugout, you got the whole cast of Mission Impossible. And you're like, really? Don't forget 1973. Darrell Evans hit 40 home runs. Hank Aaron hit 40 home runs, 40 or more. Davey Johnson hit 40 or more. Yeah, there's three guys, first time it's ever done. I mean, every day. But we go into Cincinnati, and now you got the big red machine. You got Perez, you got Rose, you got Bench, you got Concepcion, you got Griffey. Winning 13-5. Come the ninth inning, we lose 15-14. I mean, it was just, different era, different way, just completely different way. Yeah. Anybody, anytime. It wasn't like, oh, this is a gimme. No, there were no gimmies. You go you play the Dodgers. You got Garvey, Lopes, Russell, Say. And what? I got Reggie Smith in the outfield, Tommy Davis, Ferguson, Yeager behind the plate. And then I got to deal with Sutton, Messersmith, Downing, Tommy John. Really? Okay, that makes it easy. Yeah. You go into Chicago. Come on.
Incredible era.
Ferguson on the mound. You go into Cincinnati, the big red machine. You go into St. Louis, Brock, Gibson, Torrey. Okay. What? McCarver behind the plate. Philadelphia. That was Schmidt's first year. Lazinski. Carlton. Yeah.
Great era. Great baseball.
Yeah.